Hey YouTube! So today we're doing a reaction of a guy that does a lot of reaction himself. As somebody who I've been told my commentary looks a lot like, and I would say probably the former best Nuzlocker in the world. You guessed it, it is Pokemon challenges. So 2 years ago he made a trash lock, which is basically a ROM hack where you can only use, let's say, average to weak Pokemon. So let's see how he does it, and I will criticize his run as best as I can, see whether or not I would have made the same choices. All right.
Have you ever wanted to play a Pokemon game where you could only use really bad Pokemon?
Sure.
No? Well, I made a ROM hack for it anyway. Me making this ROM hack came out of the desire of making my Nuzlocks even harder by only using really underappreciated Pokemon. Because, let's be honest, some of these Pokemon are really cool and just don't ever get to see play. So,
All right. I'll skip the intro. I mainly want to focus on the gameplay. Yeah. That seems to be game. Oh no, that's not gameplay. Oh, okay, the rules. Let's start here. Let's see. No items, that makes sense. Level cap, yeah, the same way we do. First encounter, Pokemon faints, catch the same Pokemon twice, so that's regular Nuzlocke rules, and the duplicate clause. So, regular, can we use equipped item? It's not said. I'm curious to know whether or not he uses Eld item.
picking the starters was also an interesting question. We tried a few configurations, and I'm
Alright.
actually pretty happy with what we came up with. The starters ended up being, spoiler alert, I guess, Slugma for the fire type, Goldeen
Okay.
for the water type, and Sunkern for the grass type. Slugma is
Oh, okay, so we have Slugma, who's a very slow fire type that uses. I think it has Yawn. So can put people to sleep. That's not great. Yeah, I can see the trash lock. Very weak starters. Goldeen is interesting. Fairly high attack. Some flying. Does it have peck? Or drill peck later on? I don't remember. Starts with horn attack, which is not bad. I would say, yeah, Goldeen is probably better than Slugma. And the last one was Sunkern. Sunkern, what about it? Sunkern is fairly weak. Is it better than Goldeen? Actually, maybe. Actually, maybe. Wait. Yeah, I think you... Are you going Sunkern? If you can replace it at some point during the run, I think you go Sunkern for the early game, maybe. It's between Sunkern and Goldeen in my opinion, but I think that Goldeen maybe edges it out. I don't know. It's between Goldeen and Sunkern for sure. It's not Slugma.
super annoying to play in the early game, but it has a lot of fun tools in Flame Body, Smog, and Yawn, so you can play around with status a lot. And then you might think,
Yeah, the problem with that is if you do Yawn and you put them to sleep, then Flame Bodies use this, and if you Flame Body somebody, then you can't use Yawn. So it's like, it's tough to put more than 2 status move on somebody on the same Pokemon, because you can only use 1 at a time. And especially with Flame Body, you might put a status that you don't want. So it's kind of tricky to play around. Unless you use 1 status to catch and 1 status to actually do battle with. Like, let's say for example, maybe you want to use Sleep Powder to catch something and then Stun Spore to do battle. But then that is intentional. Like Flame Body is not intentional, so that's tricky. It doesn't work.
hey, Goldeen actually seems pretty good, especially for
Yeah.
Roxanne. Yeah, except for the fact that Goldeen doesn't get a water type move until level 38.
Ooh. Yeah, that's not good. So we see no flying type move. Also, 38. You should have Surf by then. So Yeah, yeah, that's terrible actually.
Yeah. So those are the
Yeah,
3 starter options. Maybe you've already made up in your mind what would be the best one here.
yeah.
Maybe go
Knowing
find
that,
out
I would say
yourself and be
Sunkern
the ROM.
maybe.
Pokemon placement was another thing. I tried to place Pokemon so that you couldn't get certain Pokemon before certain gym leaders. I tried to avoid almost all water and grass type encounters before Roxanne. I believe the only grass type encounter outside of the starter that you get before Roxanne would be Hoppip. I tried to obviously place stuff like Zigzagoon or Rattata early
Kabuto being available but not Omanite's kind of funny.
because it just kind of makes sense. And
They're
then some more
very
interesting
similar.
stuff like Smeargle, Ditto, and Unknown early as well. So you could actually delve into using those in the early game before something like Unknown starts to fall off drastically. Let's jump into my own run of this game. If you'd like to avoid spoilers to which Pokemon are on which route, I'd invite you to go download the patch now, play the game for yourself, and let me know how you felt about it. So I jump right into attempt 1, and I pick Slugma because Slugma's a pretty fun boy, and I love
don't
him.
agree.
I mean, just look at this fucking guy, I swear. Just look at his fucking face. And I immediately lose to Rival 1. I don't grind enough. Usually I assume that the first rival fight is over.
So he said he didn't grind enough, which is interesting because normally I think Jan uses rare candies. So that's interesting.
Was free because it's kind of rigged in your favor in most games, but in this game with Slugma, not so much. He just wasn't able to quite hold up against the Mudkip, and that's wipe number 1 right there. So after obviously an appropriate time of morning, I attempt 2, so like right away. We start with Goldeen, which again doesn't get a fucking water type move until level fucking 38. Why the fuck would you? I'd like to also mention that by my Nuzlocker rules, Route 101 is usually skipped as an encounter because in Emerald, that's where you encounter your starter. Gift encounters are not extra encounters by my rule set. So early game, we pick up some.
That's an interesting rule set. I started applying that rule. So in Fire Red and Leaf Green, for example, you have a gift Eevee. So by the rules, if you get the gift Eevee, you cannot get a Pokemon from the casino. So it puts some more choices that you have to make. Makes it a little bit more interesting, in my opinion.
Pretty standard stuff. We get the Zigzagoon, we get the Poochyena, we get the Venonat in the forest, we get Unknown north of Rustboro, we get Leddyba, which is fucking bad. Seriously, I made a ROM specifically for trash Pokemon, and this thing still went underneath any sort of bar I could have ever set. It's so fucking bad.
Ladybug's terrible, but it evolves into Lydian quite fast, and Lydian is it useful at any point? Maybe gym number 2. Maybe against Brawly. But yeah, that's not good.
It's so unbelievably bad. I can't even. And we get a Iggly buff, which we unfortunately have to friendship grind. I might raise the base friendship levels in this game at some point or something. I don't know. Anyway, I lost Poochyena and Venonat to grinding immediately because if I don't lose any Pokemon at grinding, it's really not a Pokemon challenge. It's Nuzlocke, let's be real. We challenge Roxanne, the first actually challenging fight of this game. If you're doing a lot of early game grinding, like I've come into the habit to because Kaizo games have left their mark on me. I'm scarred forever. I'm never gonna be the same again. I'm broken. So my plan is going in. I have no counter for these Geodudes whatsoever. I just got absolutely nothing. But here's the big savior. Unknown has hidden power fighting.
Oh, that's interesting.
So my plan is debuff the Geodudes with Jigglypuffs.
That's interesting. So he does something here that shows a little bit his experience. You see the level on Jigglypuff, so we call that edging. No, you perverts, that's not the same edging you do. This is getting as close as possible to the next level. So when you play with a level cap, for example, it cannot go over 15, but 15 plus as much XP as you can get is allowed, and that way you gain a level by beating the first Pokemon. And it's like you go over the level cap, but you're already mid-fight, so that's a lot. This is a very good strategy if you want to go a little bit over level cap.
Charm and other kind of support abilities, and then take it down with Unknown's hidden power fighting, right? Except Jiggly immediately loses half of its f***ing HP to really f***ing
Oh,
bullshit
wow.
RNG.
Yeah.
Yeah, typical, right?
Also,
But
also we see the berry, so held item were allowed.
Unknown immediately takes back the tempo, has a ton of really sick RNG, and goes all the way to nose pass.
Wow.
Now, listen, I might have forgotten the nose pass gets blocked because I just never worry about it because I always sweep this fight with a water type. So I switch to Goldeen to get some supersonic damage, and Goldeen gets trapped and blocked. But for some reason on this fight, using Tail Whip almost always prompts Roxanne to get her nose pass to use Harden. I don't understand. I guess she just doesn't.
So I guess you could do. I saw supersonic. Nose pass is confused, so I guess it's gonna confuse stall it with tail whip. That's an interesting usage of game knowledge. So when you know how the AI works, you can play it a little bit in a way where you always have the advantage. That's interesting. That's good knowledge.
Like getting her defenses lowered. But what I was doing that was to always set up supersonic and actually have it hit itself all the time because he would never attack me and only ever go for the Harden after I go for the tail whip. Pretty beautiful, actually. But, I mean, supersonic is pretty horrible, and I eventually lose Goldeen. At this point, I kind of know it's risky to go for Jigglypuff for another charm, but I figure that Unknown alone isn't going to take it out. Remember that Hidden Power fighting is physical, because every fighting type move is physical in Gen 3. So I can't really break through this nose pass just yet, and I figure I probably need to debuff it a little bit. Maybe I can avoid the block, but Jigglypuff also gets blocked after the charm. Actually almost takes out the nose pass on its own because Jigglypuff is a fucking boss. Praise Hbox. I take out all the potions with Jigglypuff, it eventually dies, and Unknown takes out nose pass. With a lot of casualties, I can move this run on to do.
So he's now with a Unknown and a Zigzagoon. That's not going well.
I pick up Paris in
That's
Granite
not
Cave.
bad.
I pick up C-Dot on Route 110.
Also not
and
bad.
we prepare for the Brawly fight. Now, my plan was going in that Ledian would actually do pretty good in this fight, right?
Yeah.
Bug flying type, quadruple resist. It's got that supersonic. It's got Comet Punch, you know, it's getting there. Between all this planning, I actually just kind of forgot about the fact that Ledian is complete and utter fucking trash. So it just didn't work out for me at all. It just kind of died. It can't do shit. Machop just starts setting up bulk ups on it, and I try to poison it with Paras, forgetting that Machop also has guts. This fight was a disaster.
Alright, so we were praising game knowledge and forgetting that matchup has guts is not good game knowledge. This is a very avoidable mistake, especially when you say we prepped. That is not what preparation looks like. I'm sorry, yeah.
Astro, I swear to God. I try to switch in like C-Dot because I think it's going to go for Seismic Toss to stall some more poison damage, but he Karate Chops on Paras for no fucking reason. I lose C-Dot. I then have to sack off Paras into killing it with Love Disc. I take some damage, and in this is so dumb. This whole fight was a huge disaster. For some reason, I thought it was using Endure and not Focus Punch because I can't fucking read. Yeah, Meditite deals a shit ton of unnecessary damage to Love Disc with Focus Punch. Love Disc is like the only thing that can help me against Makuhita too, because after bulk up setup, I'm fucked. Literally, my only special type attack at this point in the run is fucking Love Disc Water Gun. And at this point, I'm sitting here, I'm like, what have I done? My team is so weak. So my plan is to charm Makuhita, but it bulks its attack back up, and my water gun does absolutely nothing. Eventually he breaks through Love Disc. I have no more special moves, and I just wipe to Makuhita, and that's attempt 2.
All right, so again, another mistake where you don't read your opponent's move. That's interesting. I've never actually tried that. But Endure and Focus Punch do look very similar, so I can see the mistake here.
Time for attempt 3. So, this is where we decided, okay, we have to act.
I wonder if it's gonna go for Goldeen again, because Goldeen didn't do half as bad, especially if you can get something like an Unknown to help you against Roxanne. So I wonder if it's gonna do Goldeen, or because he tried Slugma first, then Goldeen. I suppose maybe you try Sunkern now. I think Sunkern's gonna do fairly well, especially against
Actually
Roxanne.
take some good steps to prepare for Roxanne. So who would have guessed the best starter to pick is absolutely 100% Sunkern. Yes.
Kinda guessed it.
Sunkern is the best starter in the game. Fucking nice, dude. Oh my god. So after picking up some mediocre encounters, including fucking
He says mediocre encounter, but look at that. Wait.
dude, oh my god. So after
We see the Rattata. Rattata, if it has guts, is extremely strong. I'm telling you. Guts Raticate can literally almost solo the entire game up to gym. Like maybe gym 6, it kind of falls off. But this thing is absolutely, utterly broken in a trash log. Guts is extremely strong and you can get yourself poisoned very easily. Normally you don't have to do that much effort. So Rattata, I keep my eye on it. I'm telling you it's gonna be good. I'm sure of it. Unless it has like the other ability, which is Runaway, then it's garbage.
picking up some mediocre encounters, including fucking Ladybug and god fucking
Yeah,
damn.
that's
I
terrible.
could get Hopip and Smeargle, which are gonna be
Smeargle, not bad. Can learn pretty much every move. I think it can actually because it's catch. But it just depends now. Can you get him the moves? In competitive, it's fairly easy. But when it comes in a Trashla, it's gonna be quite hard. So you have to plan kind of far ahead if you want to give it a good move set. But right away you could do something with bulk up maybe. I don't know.
pretty important later on. I actually almost ended up not getting the Smeargle. I caught it on the last possible ball while it was struggling itself to death, which is actually pretty funny considering what happened much later in this run. And this is where we find out that Sunkern actually absolutely annihilates Roxanne and sweeps it.
I wonder, does Sunkern evolve via... I think it's a Sunstone. Is it Sunstone or Lightstone? No, it's Sunstone. Or is it level up? I don't exactly remember how it evolves. I see it level 16. I'm kind of surprised.
It with no problems whatsoever. Praise Game Freak's game balance. Thanks. After fishing up Love Disc, picking up Paris again and Granite, and again getting C-Dot on 110, I had to get my revenge on Brawly. I actually have my first death here while losing Letty into grinding, but seriously, ask me if I care.
Seem to care a little bit, kinda.
Shit about fucking Letty and can die this piece of shit. As our lead for Brawly, we end up picking up Skiploom.
Skiploom, that's
actually,
interesting.
This is one of the first big things that I learned in this run, and one of those things I was hoping to learn. Skiploom is actually really cool. We can lead with Sleep Powder to put Machop to sleep. Sleep Powder actually slaps, but man, this thing's offense is so fucking ass. Its only good grass type move that it gets early game is Bullet Seed, which I have to teach from a TM. It's actually really interesting if you think about how grass types are kind of balanced around having complete garbage moves but a really good utility early game.
Yep.
Also turns out beating Metatide is actually much easier if you remember it's using Focus Punch and not fucking Endure. Eventually, after a few Sleep Powder, bulk up cycles, and I wear down its HP and its potions, I have to switch out to Beedrill because recovering with Synthesis isn't safe anymore when playing around the crit, but Beedrill makes pretty quick work of.
So Beedrill's interesting. It's always super useful to have a fully evolved Pokemon before level 20. Even if the stats, you know, are not great, it's gonna not do well later on. But especially early on, it makes sense. I think he's gonna do well.
Macedonia. The notorious Rival 2 fight is actually pretty scary for me too in this run, because I have no counter for Combuskin. My only counter
Eradicate.
typing wise is Love Disc. And with its stats, I can only hope that Combuskin gets a paper cut while double kicking its thin body to death. However,
I'm
help
telling
arrives in the
you.
form of support token.
Eradicate. Ah,
Yonder's a triple
close
charm,
enough.
turns the fierce raptor into a tame chicken wing, which Love Disc has all the time in the world to spray and make all soppy and soggy and disgusting. I don't know, guys. I had to think of this analogy, and now it's in your head too. Good luck. In any case, the big next fight is Watson, where most of the feedback that I got from my community and others that have played this game have told me that there is quite a big difficulty.
Alright, I'm just gonna move my camera a little bit because we can see his team at the bottom. I'll move myself right there. So we can see Parasect, Dustox, Skiploom, it used Leech Seed, huh? And Dustox can use Protect. Parasect can do quite a bit too, but no poison because of steel types. Magnemite, especially steel type. Nuzleaf is not gonna do much, and Beedrill is not gonna do much either. I would say probably Dustox, Eradicate, and Parasect.
Difficulty spike. Countering both his Magneton and Manic Trick actually turned out to be quite tough with the Pokemon available up until this point, but I'm confident in my team here. I picked up a Dustox west of Mauville. This seemed like the best point to put the Whirlpool line to prevent players from sweeping Brawly with them while still having them available fairly early. Well, it turns out Dustox is actually quite the beast, and this fight can be cheesed heavily using the team of Skiploom and Dustox. In retrospect, my encounter synergy was pretty off the charts this run, but this will become even more clear later on. This fight also sees the advent of a cheesy strategy that I'll be utilizing a lot throughout this entire run, and that's Guts Raticate. My Raticate has the ability Guts, which boosts its attack when afflicted by status conditions.
Told you guys, Raticate's crazy.
In competitive, this is abused by using a Toxic or a Flame Orb. In this game, because we're Nuzlocking, we can simply utilize Guts by poisoning our Raticate on a wild...
So if you've seen my shorts, I made a short video why Raticate is so strong. Something like that. Or Joey was right, Raticate is... anyway, I talked about Rattata and Raticate being some of the strongest early game encounter in all the games. So yeah, Raticate, very strong.
Wildmon, and healing it with potions before the fight. It's kind of like a performance-enhancing drug that kills you slowly with every step. I didn't actually have a
exactly like a real steroid.
Single move that even dealt neutral damage to Magneton on this fight. It has a monstrous special attack stat, and Stab Shockwave really hurts. It even has Sonic Boom to threaten those grass types that resist Shockwave. However, this is where things become extra cheesy. I'm talking cheddar cheesy. Turns out all we need to beat this Magneton is Skiploom's Leech Seed and Dustox's Protect and Moonlight. This was one of my favorite moments of the run. It made me realize an awesome synergy between two Pokemon I'd otherwise simply never used together and completely disregarded. Also, again, note how these low-tier Pokemon are often balanced by getting quite good utility moves early on. It's actually pretty fun. Parasect walls out Manectric, and Nuzleaf and Beedrill eventually help take it down. 0 deaths to Watson. We're chillin'. The next part of the run becomes a delicate balancing act between what Guts Raticate can and can't.
Hey guys, that's me. Raticate. The best boy.
Cannot one-shot with strength. Remember, I can't let this really in on anything because he's taking poison damage every turn, and Raticate doesn't really, have any defense. I should note here also that this list is made with the assumption that trait evolutions are not possible. This is why Machoke and Haunter are in this game. I pick up Machop and Sableye, who get added to the team, and I challenge Maxie.
So wait, Machop and Sableye. Sableye, I don't think it has anything. Pursuit. Yeah, Sableye, I don't know why he uses that. Machop. Does it have guts? Maybe it has guts. I'm not sure. I know Machamp has it for sure, but maybe not Machop and Machop.
It's also worth noting that my Smeargle is running Synthesis, Headbutt, and Spore at this point.
That's not
Getting
bad.
any move I have onto my Smeargle is fairly easy, as I can just have a Wild Smeargle sketch, for example, my Skiploom Synthesis, which I can then sketch with my own Smeargle. Luvdisc is the obvious candidate for taking out Camerupt here.
Yeah.
Damn, does it suck!
Oh, Mag
Water gun
8.
off of that special attack just isn't enough, even with a 4x weakness. I go for the Charm and die to Magnitude 8 after Water Gun fails to kill it. You won't be missed, buddy. Let's be real. At this point, Guts Raticate can clean it up though. I pick up Onyx and Jagged Pass. Onyx is...
Onyx
Why is
terrible.
Onyx so fucking terrible?
Yeah.
Here's a list of Pokemon.
Hey, you could cue the Alfred clip here. Onyx is absolutely bad. Always. It's never good. Steelix, also. Onyx, useless. Very much
One
useless.
that have more attack than Onyx.
Oh
Sentret,
shit.
Nidoran female. Joltik. Ditto.
Alright, are you gonna name like all the Pokemons? Alright.
And this. How? I go and challenge Flannery.
That's
Guts
rough.
Raticate easily takes out her first 2 mons, but then another fat camel stands in my way. Togetic casually flexes his massive 105 special defense cock into its face and tanks an overheat critical. You know, no biggie. However, I end up having to sacrifice it because nobody on my team can take Torkoal's second overheat after the white herb. Egg Boy ended up getting scrambled. Press F, guys. At this point, Attract really starts fucking with me because my team is all male. At least Flannery is tearing down the patriarchy. You know, actually, I'm a Pokemon expert, and I happen to know that Sableye has no weaknesses because it is of the dark and ghost type, and therefore it cannot be trash.
Wait, this is you, chat. This is how you sound.
Because how can a Pokemon be bad that doesn't have any weaknesses? Because it literally does nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything. No bulk, no offense, no moves.
No moves, let's see. Shadow Ball's not bad. Detect, Fake Out, Knock Off. Wait, Knock Off is 20 power this gen. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, Fake Out, you know, Detect, never bad. Nightshade actually could work. And then you invest heavily in HP if you play with EVs. And you're having fun.
Literally
Not that
spend
bad.
1
It's
minute
not
on
that
its
bad.
Bulbapedia page.
Not,
It's trash.
yeah.
It's complete garbage. In fact, don't just take my word for it. Watch it die to this -4 special attack Torkoal overheat.
Oh, that wasn't
Horribly.
Yes.
Man, am I glad that this Pokemon doesn't have any weaknesses. Anyway, the death of this Gemide trash bag was at least enough to reset tempo of this fight and turn the Flannery fight around. 2 pretty big deaths here, but pretty happy with the results. Now, for as bad as Onyx's attack is, its defense plus jump plus leech seed was actually enough to take out Norman's slacking. I love these internal synergies of defensive Pokemon. It's actually really cool. Machoke deals with the rest of the team. Using Surf, I pick up some useful mons like Octillery and Pelipper.
Pelipper being in the trash luck is crazy in my opinion. It's super strong.
We also find a Misdreavus here.
Not bad.
This is also the point where Raticate's power
Ooh,
level becomes
Facade.
pretty not okay for the purposes of this run. I mean, Guts is an interesting ability, but honestly, I think it might just be a little bit too abusable. Although, if you've never done this before, try playing with this strategy in your own regular Nuzlocke. When you have a Guts Pokemon, it can really amp up the power level. Only every other Raticate has it in this run, so I think it might be fine, but Guts plus Stab Facade is just like really insane.
Yeah.
He slaughters pretty much the entirety of Winona's team, and Pelipper can clean up what's left. Another important addition to the team here is Plusle. I've said before, I think, personally, for Nuzlocke, one of the best possible moves in the entire game is Encore. Manipulating your opponent to using the same move over and over without them switching out because the AI does not switch out on Encore is incredibly useful for Nuzlocke. Plusle has ample availability.
You see, I would have said probably Leech Seed instead of Anchor. Leech Seed is because the same reason people don't, you know, the AI doesn't switch. So you're kind of putting the enemy on a timer, and that timer happens to heal you, which is insane. But Anchor does make sense. You can abuse the AI very easily and set up a win.
Availability of that move. Also, Stab Thunderbolt that I get from the new Marvel quest really helps here. This ends up eventually really helping with all the water types that we're about to face, and Maxie and Archie's Crobat.
Can
After
you...
a lot more new encounters and quite a bit of theory crafting,
Wait, let's
come
see.
to a pretty cheeky plan for Tate and Eliza.
Wait, let's see the plan here. Let's try and guess. Blubber Boy serves and Quack Boy serves, both of them using serve. And then you get rid of the Soul Rockin' and Lunatone, and then what? Then they switch, and then you spam Surf again. It might be Surf spam actually.
We've managed to acquire some dark types with Shiftry, Murkrow, and Crawdaunt. Tantalize, Xatu, and Lunatone only have Psychic as their offensive moves, which don't work on dark types. The plan is to go into the fight hyper aggressively with Raticate and Shiftry to take out Claydol and Solrock. We teach Raticate Shadow Ball, Shiftry has Feint Attack. Eventually this ends up working. Only Xatu and Lunatone are left here, and they can't do anything against our dark types, and we...
That's interesting.
Look at the smug face on this fucking Murkrow.
Wait, Lunatone doesn't have any rock type move? That's interesting. Good strategy. Yeah, very good thinking.
He knows. He knows. After the whole Cataclysm weather bullshit that nobody cares about, we arrive at Huan. And this is where things came full circle. After sweeping Roxanne with Sunkern, the plan was clear. History had to repeat itself. Sunflora.
With Sunny Day, Chlorophyll.
Solar Beam.
Ooh.
Chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll, yeah.
Time for the sweep. Now granted, Sunflora is still complete utter dog garbage trash, so I had to yeet it out the window as soon as the sun ran out, but I think it appreciated the sentiment. Shiftry cleaned up the fight and I was ready for the Elite Four. My Victory Road encounter ended up being Hitmonchan. Now,
that's bad.
In retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have put this here, because it does have some really favorable matchups against the Elite Four.
Against who?
Honestly,
wait, against who? Against Dark type, that makes sense because you're fighting, but against... The problem is elemental punches are special in this gen, right? So you don't do too much. You actually don't do shit. But Hitmonchan's terrible.
Like, look at its stats. It on its own, this really can't compete, even with Glacia and Sydney. It couldn't have done what it ended up doing if it wasn't for the cheesiest of the cheeses. I'm not talking cheddar. I'm talking brie.
Brie?
The Elite Four could have actually ended up being quite challenging if not for this one ungodly beast that made for the...
Yeah, the substitute. Swords Dance, Baton Pass, Spore. Alright, I can tell you already he's gonna win the Elite Four very easily. Might have to sack something. I would say Mischievous probably goes. I would not use Hitmonchan. I would probably always power up Eradicate here. Because Facade. But yeah, that you just win.
The easiest Elite Four of my itemless Nuzlocke history. The Elite Four in this game was annihilated by none other than fucking Smeargle. I was able to get Baton Pass onto it with my Illumise and Swords Dance with my Crawdaunt. Coupled with Spore, this made for a completely unfair setup Pokemon. Also, by the way, Substitute Shiftry destroys Phoebe's team. It's like not even close.
Yeah.
But I really have to say, it was extremely satisfying and a unique Nuzlocke experience to tear through the Elite Four using Baton Pass strats. Just watch how confident I got to be on the champion fight. He's not gonna win, guys. As much as this run ended up having me cheese this game, this is what I really appreciate in Nuzlocks. These are some of my favorite moments when playing these games, is getting Pokemon you normally don't use, realizing what's interesting or cheesy or OP about them, and utilizing that to your advantage.
That's a good way to play.
Playing this sort of game isn't only fun in of itself, but can actually help you improve your own runs over time by realizing the strengths and weaknesses of these underutilized Pokemon. Because whether you want to or not, in some of your Nuzlocks, you might be forced to use some of them because you're running out of Pokemon and it's all you have left. If you want to be part of this unique Nuzlocke experience, you should download the patch and join me. Tell me your thoughts on the ROM and if you enjoyed the game. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Couple things that I've noticed. Very good game knowledge. Other than this second time he did Brawly, But the first time actually, because it's the first time. The first run it didn't get there, but the second run it did get to Brawley, lost because of a couple of mistakes. That happens, you know. Can't judge him too much for that. Other than that, I'll be honest. I'm kind of proud of my prediction. The Eradicate. I love Eradicate. I think it's kind of not OP because it's not, but it's never that bad, right? Unless you're fighting only steel types or only fighting types where you can get like one shot. But it's never truly that bad. Other than that, I think it did play quite well. Good game knowledge, good prep, especially on the Elite Four. Surprised about Edmund Chen, made it work. But I agree with him. Using Pokemon that you don't normally use and doing, let's say, different stuff with them and getting them for not for the stats but for the synergies and attack, I think is a very interesting way to play. I would be interested in doing a trash lock at some point. Maybe not this one especially because I've seen the video, I know how it works. But I don't know if there's another one available, like Trash Pearl maybe would be interesting. So yeah, let me know in the comment section if you know that there is another ROM that exists, like Super Bad Pearl or something. I'd be interested in trying it. So I hope you enjoyed. I don't think me and Jan think the same way. Especially after I saw him discuss the starters. His brain went right ahead to status move and status condition with Slugma, which I think is interesting. Very defensive brain, I would say, on his part. So I'm not surprised how he plays around crits. I'm not surprised how he prioritized healing berries and over maybe offensive items. He has a very defensive brain. So that's interesting. That's a good way to play. I hope you enjoyed. Hey, if you did, please leave a like, a comment, do something, share the video. I don't know. Share it with Jan. Hey, let's do that. Let's share this video with Jan. And tell him that I'm coming for the crown. I am the best. Alright, maybe I'm not, but I'll be in the future. See ya. Bye-bye.